Well, it finally happened. Valve has added CSGO sticker positions to Source 2. Well, it looks like we are finally on the verge of a new version of Counter-Strike coming out. Now, I know this definitely isn't the first time I've told you guys this. Back in 2017, Valve had a presentation in China, which they stated that CSGO would be moving to the Source 2 engine with Panorama UI. Now, obviously, this didn't happen. It turned out that they felt that it was going to be too much work to port it over, and instead decided to port over features from the Source 2 engine to the Source 1 engine, eventually going as far as adding Vulkan support. Now, Vulkan is a low overhead cross-platform API. Now, why would they do this if they weren't moving CSGO over to the Source 2 engine? Well, the easy answer is Valve's handheld, the Steam Deck. You see, Valve had actually added and implemented the API already onto Portal 2. Now, while Vulkan does work on the Source 1 engine, it's not the optimal way to play games on the Source 1 engine. As you can see here, Vulkan has slightly worse performance on the Source 1 engine than the original API. Now, this shows the difficulty of implementing new features from the Source 2 engine onto the Source 1 engine. They're not going to be able to consistently get the benefits that moving it over to the Source 2 engine would get. Which means no matter how badly they want to backport everything to the Source 1 engine to make it so that CSGO lasts forever, it's not technically possible. Which means no matter what, given enough time, CSGO would eventually have to be ported over to the Source 2 engine. Now, previously, the only thing we had to really say, yes, it's eventually going to come over to the Source 2 engine was a few strings here and there that we found in the code. You know, different things like implementing ray tracing support and other features from the Source 2 engine. But at the end of the day, we all know that Counter-Strike isn't really a game to Valve. It's actually a skin market and we're just their customers. This is their words. So when they started to implement CSGO skins and sticker positions into the Source 2 engine, then you know they're getting serious. Valve is notoriously bad at communicating with their player base. But remember, this is by design. This is how they choose to be with their player base.
We participate in those conversations. When we participate, they stop talking to each other and they start talking to us. And the feedback becomes less clear.
Now, while I may not agree to this approach, I do believe this is actually how they go about making their decisions. So if you ever want Valve to change anything within the game, it's probably best to make a post on their own forums or Reddit and make sure you have a big backing to support you on this. This is why whenever some map gets changed, you usually hear the pros complaining that they're catering the game towards casuals. Damn it, Valve, bring me back my old 1.6 movement speed values and mid-picks on Dust 2, which perfectly transitions us to the next section of this video, what to expect when CSGO moves over to the Source 2 engine. Okay, now the first thing you guys gotta know is that when the game moves over to the Source 2 engine, it's actually gonna be a rebranding. And this is for multiple reasons, one of which being they need to make the game seem more mainline. Yes, Counter-Strike Global Offensive is one of the biggest first-person shooters in the entire world, but it could be bigger and sponsors tend to try to stay away from it as much as possible. But people love it because it's fun to watch. For example, as far as first-person shooters go, Counter-Strike is pretty simple, even though it's not as simple as it used to be in the old days when you just had flashes, smokes, and grenades. You're still not overwhelmed by a wide assortment of abilities and agents you have no idea what they do, like in Valorant. This means that even if you stopped playing Counter-Strike, I don't know, 10 years ago, you still pretty much know exactly what's going on while watching a match. This makes for a great spectator esport. But that being said, the game won't convert perfectly. This is one of the first things that Valve talked about back in 2017 when they were talking about porting the game over to the Source 2 engine. The movement mechanics, the physics, the nades, everything like that is going to change drastically because of the new engine. This was something I had a massive problem with switching from 1.6 in Counter-Strike Source to CSGO. And to this day, I still hate the movement of CSGO, but most players at this point have adapted to it and have fallen in love with it. I imagine the majority of those players are going to have similar issues like I did when switching to the new version of Counter-Strike, and that's technically what it's going to be. No longer will it be called Counter-Strike Global Offensive. This new version of the game on the Source 2 engine is going to be called Counter-Strike, just Counter-Strike. This is to keep it from sounding like some variant of the game and make it sound more official and right to the point. Now for some good news, Valve knows that a big chunk of their player base loves their skins. So all of those will be transferred over to Source 2, including sticker positions and stickers. This means that all of the guns and gloves will be transferred over as well. But it does not mean that the guns will react in the exact same manner. They're probably going to have at least subtly different spray pattern, which means you will need to relearn your spray control. So if you're one of those players that was never quite able to reach that pro level in CSGO, this might be your best opportunity to see if you can actually strike into it, since a lot of players will not be able to adapt to the new feel of the game since they've been practicing with it for the last 10 years. Alright, so what else do we know? Well, the graphics are going to be significantly improved, especially through RTX, though it will be toggleable, and this is important because it does add latency. So while the spectators can use it with no issues and it just looks absolutely fantastic, pro players aren't forced to use it and handicap themselves. In fact, the entire Source 2 engine is optimized far better than the original Source 1 engine, which means it'll lower input latency in the game overall. Now, to make the game more mainstream, they're trying to make the game more politically correct. So instead of having terrorists and counter-terrorists, it is said that they're going to be calling the teams the T side and the CT side, or maybe the attackers and defenders like Valorant. And they may even go as far as subtly renaming the gun. Now, they actually did do this once in the past. Back when Counter-Strike 1.6 went retail, it was actually Counter-Strike 1.0 at the time, the retail copy of the game actually used different names for all of the guns. So like the AWM was changed to the AWP. The Deagle's name was changed to the Nighthawk, but they will still look and act fundamentally the same. Oh, and I completely forgot about agents. Yes, those will be transferred over as well. Though personally, I hope there's some kind of min model system, though there hasn't been anything that said that there will be. Basically what that means is a system where you can actually block out all the agents and just have one model show up for every player. They had this for Counter-Strike 1.6 and Counter-Strike Source, so it's kind of surprising that it never actually made its way into CSGO. Now, how fast is this new version of Counter-Strike going to be coming out? Very fast. Well, for Valve time. I expect you're going to be able to play the beta in 2023, probably around summertime, with the full release coming out around 2024. So don't worry guys, you got some time to upgrade those PCs. Overall, it's a very exciting time. I like seeing that they're still in development of working on Counter-Strike like this and upgrading it for the next generation. Though I am a bit concerned of them simplifying the name of the game to just Counter-Strike. For some reason, it just makes it feel a little bit more final, like there will never be another Counter-Strike after the next one. And there has always been something kind of nice about having a new Counter-Strike game come out after a few years. Though it seems to take longer and longer for a new Counter-Strike game to come out, because I think Counter-Strike Source was around for 8 years, and then CSGO was around for 10 at this point. So who knows, maybe Counter-Strike on the Source 2 engine will be out until Gabe's death, and they'll just never release another Counter-Strike. Though I have to admit I am definitely in favor of all the Source 2 improvements as well as the mainstream improvements. I think it's a necessity for Counter-Strike's farther growth and stabilization of its community. Anyways guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and what would you like to see them bring to Counter-Strike in Source 2? Better anti-cheat and 128 tick servers. And as always, have a great day and please subscribe.